When the shipwreck happened, my husband and I both fell into the icy water. My husband, completely submerged, used every ounce of strength to lift me above the surface. Watching his lips turn increasingly purple and his face pale, I knew his life was rapidly fading. I cried, "Let me go, I'll die with you." My husband desperately held on to me. "Serafina, hold on, rescue is coming soon, I want you to live." I sobbed uncontrollably. "What's the point of me living alone if you die?" My husband weakly said, "Serafina, rescue is coming soon. After you're saved, please help me take care of Melina and the child. That child is mine." I was struck by lightning, because Melina was my best friend, and her husband was a researcher with national security clearance. I had never met him. For years, I had been taking care of her and her child, even bringing my husband along. But I never imagined that Melina's child's father was actually my husband, Donovan. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to half a month ago. Melina was heavily pregnant, and my husband and I were with her for a prenatal checkup. The nurse asked, "Who is Melina's family member? Come here to sign." Donovan immediately stood up, coming. At the time, I didn't think anything of it, because Melina's husband was contributing to the country and the nation, and she was my best friend, so I had to take care of her. But now, seeing my own husband actively getting up to sign, I understood everything. The nurse asked, "Are you Melina's husband?" Donovan didn't hesitate. "Yes." "Nurse, sign here. Congratulations on becoming a father. The child is very healthy, don't worry." Donovan smiled happily. "Thank you." At the time, I excitedly said to Melina, "Did you hear that? The nurse said the baby is very healthy, congratulations. I wonder if your husband will go crazy with joy when he hears the news." Melina secretly glanced at Donovan, quickly looking away, but she was visibly shy. "Maybe." I felt a little regret. "But your husband is so elusive, I don't even know where to find him to tell him the good news." Melina was vague. "He will know." I was suspicious. "Isn't it a classified unit? Aren't they usually not allowed to contact family privately? How will you tell him?" Melina smiled and winked at me. "You don't understand, we have a spiritual connection." As the past scenes replayed, I finally understood everything. The child's father would definitely know, because he was my husband, Donovan. Donovan signed and came over, explaining to me, "Serafina, Melina's family situation is special. It's not convenient for us to explain too much to the nurse, so I volunteered to say I was her family member. Don't overthink it." Before I could speak, Melina grabbed my arm and leaned her whole body on my shoulder, appearing particularly close to me. She tilted her chin rather possessively at Donovan. "Need you even say it? Serafina and I have been friends for over 20 years. She knows me longer than she knows you. Let me tell you, if we both fell into the water at the same time, she would definitely save me first." Donovan smiled gently. "So my appearance disturbed you two loving each other?" "Of course." Melina pretended to be angry, acting like a protective mother hen, pointing at Donovan and warning, "So I'm telling you, you have to be nice to our Serafina, otherwise, I'll be the first to not let you off." Donovan surrendered, a smile on his lips. "I know, little aunt, I'm really afraid of you." Melina then declared a truce. "That's more like it." She turned to me, "Serafina, if he ever treats you badly in the future, just tell me. Your sister will definitely help you teach him a lesson." Looking at the two faces in front of me, I realized how foolish I was in my previous life. I actually thought Melina was really protecting me, not afraid to fight with my husband. I also thought Donovan really only had me in his heart, so he didn't care about Melina's repeated provocations. It turned out these were just their flirting games. I was just a part of their play. At this moment, my heart was colder than the seawater that day. These were the lover I trusted most, and the friend I cherished most. How absurd. Perhaps sensing that my complexion was off, Donovan took my hand, frowning with concern. "Serafina, why are your hands so cold?" I pulled my hand back, my voice very cold. "I'm fine." Donovan persisted, grabbing my hand again, using his two warm and dry hands to warm my hands. "Really okay? Your face doesn't look good." I glanced at Melina and suddenly felt like playing a prank. I smiled and said, "Maybe I'm pregnant too, should I go get a blood test?" As soon as these words came out, the hand holding mine stiffened slightly. And Melina, she first looked surprised, then lowered her eyes, a subtle trace of malice appearing on her face. I had been observing Donovan's reaction. I saw him glance at Melina almost imperceptibly, seeing that she was looking down and not speaking, and his smile was a little unnatural. Serafina, are you really pregnant? I pretended to be ignorant and said softly, maybe we were intimate once at the end of last month. Calculating the time, it should be about right. Donovan's complexion changed at a speed visible to the naked eye. I smiled and asked him, honey, aren't you happy that I'm pregnant? Happy? Donovan chuckled dryly and said, of course, I'm happy that you have a baby. I'm just a little surprised. As he spoke, he glanced at Melina as if unintentionally. So I also asked Melina, it seems we really are the best of friends, even getting pregnant together. When the children grow up in the future, if one is a boy and one is a girl, let them get engaged, okay? Melina's smile was a little forced. Forget it, it's the 21st century now, it's not a feudal society. Child marriages are no longer suitable for modern times. Let the children find their own true love. I continued to ask, but didn't we agree in high school? That if the children are the same sex, they would be brothers or sisters, and if they were the opposite sex, they would get engaged. Why are you suddenly going back on your word? Melina's smile was extremely unnatural, and her tone was a little cold. I just don't want to force my child to do something he doesn't like. Donovan quickly chimed in. Yes, Serafina, Melina is right, we shouldn't force the children. I smiled with a hint of playfulness. Okay, no forcing. Then if my child and Melina's child fall in love freely in the future, you're not allowed to stop them either. Impossible. Melina suddenly stood up. That's absolutely impossible. Her voice was too shrill, and the volume was not low, and soon the doctors, nurses, and patients passing by all looked at us. A nurse reminded, no loud noises in the hospital. Donovan immediately apologized with a smile. Sorry, she's pregnant, her emotions are a bit volatile. The nurse nodded to show she understood. If you're pregnant, take good care of your wife, don't make her angry. Donovan nodded again. I know, thank you. Everyone then dispersed. The three of us were instantly in a dead silence. After a while, Melina finally came to her senses, realizing that she might have overreacted just now. She smiled and said to me, Serafina, I'm a little thirsty. Can you help me buy some water? Looking at her pale face with a forced smile, and Donovan's tightly furrowed brows, I knew they probably had something to say in private, so I smiled and nodded. Okay. Melina shook my hand affectionately, as intimate as before. Thank you, Serafina, you're the best to me. I shook off her hand, turned and left, and took the elevator. In the second before the elevator doors closed, I saw Melina turn away crying, and Donovan immediately followed her. This was the second floor. I took the elevator down to the first floor, and then slipped into the stairwell next to it. As soon as I entered, I heard a quarrel coming from the stairwell on the second floor. Melina cried, questioning Donovan. Donovan, why is she pregnant? Donovan also changed from his usual gentle demeanor, his voice becoming low and wicked. She's my wife, why can't she be pregnant? Donovan, you beast. Can't you keep it in your pants when you see a woman? Is Serafina prettier than me? Do I have a better figure? Am I a better match for you in bed? Didn't you say she's like a log in bed? You can do it with a log. Melina moaned softly. Let me go, it hurts. Donovan rebuked in a low voice. I'm warning you one more time, Serafina is my wife, the woman I love most in this life. If I hear you say one more bad thing about her, you know the consequences. Melina cried uncontrollably. Then what am I in your heart? Melina, don't forget, you were the one who seduced me. So what? What's wrong with me pursuing someone I like? Besides, you didn't reject me. Donovan chuckled softly, with a bit of roguishness. If Serafina hadn't been on her period that time, do you think I would have touched you? Melina accused him. But you didn't push me away, did you? Donovan, you always put on a gentle and refined act in front of Serafina. Does she know the real you? If she knew your true face, would she still be with you? Only we are the most compatible, bitches and bastards are meant to be a pair. Melina's moans came again. And this time, she also made some intermittent cries for help and coughs. She must have been choked. Donovan said coldly. Serafina is the kindest and gentlest girl in the world. You can't even compare to one of her fingers. If it wasn't because you were her best friend, you can go and ask around what happens to those women who climb into my bed. Melina whimpered and begged for mercy, and after a long time, Donovan finally released her. Melina cried heart-wrenchingly, but Donovan just stood aside the whole time, without saying a word of comfort. After a long time, Melina grabbed his pant leg as if begging, and said weakly, Donovan, Serafina is pregnant. You probably can't bear to touch her, afraid of hurting her body, right? There are 10 months during pregnancy. If you need anything, you can come to me. At this time, I smelled a smoky tobacco smell in the air. Donovan had lit a cigarette, and without regard for Melina being pregnant, started smoking. He hummed with a playful chuckle. You're pregnant too. Aren't you afraid of something happening and hurting yourself as well? Melina's voice was filled with shyness and ambiguity. I'm not afraid, and I've already started producing milk. Donovan chuckled a few times, his tone a little wicked. Serafina is a pure saint, and you're just a filthy slut. It wouldn't be bad to keep you as a dog for amusement. Just one thing. Don't let this get to Serafina. Understand? Melina nodded tearfully. I won't let her find out about us. Donovan sighed softly, a hint of sincerity in his voice. If it were any other woman, I'd be confident I could handle it. But you're Serafina's closest friend, and if I dealt with you, she'd be heartbroken. Perhaps it was Donovan's so-called sincere words, or perhaps the smoke in the stairwell was too thick, but I turned my head and threw up. I really couldn't tell if Donovan loved me or not. If he didn't love me, why was he so protective of me in his words? But if he loved me, why would he so easily sleep with another woman? And that woman was my best friend. A nurse passing by happened to come by and helped me. Miss, are you all right? I waved my hand. I'm fine, thank you. Oh dear, there's blood on your pants. I touched my pants. My fingertip came back wet and bright red. The nurse took me to the emergency room, and soon the results came back. Miss, you're pregnant. I froze. This world is a little bit black humor. I only said I was pregnant as a prank to test Melina and Donovan. I didn't expect to actually be pregnant. But miss, your situation is not optimistic. You're already bleeding, and there's a risk of a threatened miscarriage. Call your husband over. We need to give you medication to prevent miscarriage as soon as possible. No need to prevent miscarriage, I said, gripping my hands tightly, my body trembling slightly. Just abort it. The doctor and nurse were stunned. Are you sure? I smiled, but I knew my smile probably looked worse than crying. I'm sure. An hour later, I walked out of the bathroom, holding a wad of tissue soaked in blood. Cold, sticky. Someone in the distance shouted in surprise. Madam! It's Madam! We found Madam! Go tell Mr. Donovan. Before I could react, I was enveloped in a wide, warm embrace. Donovan held me tightly, his voice trembling. Serafina, where did you run off to? You scared me to death. I looked up and saw that the hospital, which should have been full of angels in white coats, was full of men in black suits. They were all standing behind Donovan, respectfully bowing their heads. But I looked around and didn't see Melina. I asked, where is she? Who? Melina. Donovan was still frowning, examining my entire body. Seeing that I was completely unharmed, he finally felt relieved. He let out a long breath and embraced me again. I had someone send her home first. As for you, didn't you go to buy water? I searched all the nearby convenience stores and bubble tea shops, but I couldn't find you. I smelled a faint smell of smoke lingering on his body. I asked him, did you smoke? Donovan paused, then denied it. Serafina, you know I never smoke. You smell like smoke. Maybe I ran into someone who was smoking and picked it up. I nodded. Oh, just now in the stairwell, there were only me, Melina, and him. It wasn't me, and it certainly wasn't the pregnant Melina, so it was obvious who the smoker was. Donovan, you're still lying to me. He suddenly frowned, his dry hand touching my forehead, feeling the sweat that had already turned cold. The nurse said that the reaction to medical abortion varies from person to person. For some, it's like a period, for others, it's like a meat grinder churning in their stomach. Unfortunately, I was the latter. I gritted my teeth and persevered in the women's restroom for an hour, sweat already soaking my underwear. I forcefully pushed away the large hand wiping the sweat from my forehead, frowning and saying, "I'm fine. Melina likes iced coconut lattes, but there aren't any cafes nearby, so I ran a little when I went to buy her coffee and got a little sweaty." Donovan was full of heartache, and he took out the softest fabric inside his shirt and gently wiped the sweat from my forehead. "You're such a silly Serafina, making yourself so tired for others. You ran off so far without saying a word. You scared me to death, you know." The men in black beside him also chimed in. "Yes, madam, mister. Donovan was worried that something had happened to you and almost turned the whole hospital upside down." Another said, "It's a good thing madam is okay, mister. Donovan was about to call the police." Just then, Donovan felt the wad of tissue that I had been tightly clutching in my hand. He immediately pried open my fingers and saw the glaring red blood on the tissue, immediately becoming vigilant. "Serafina, what is this bloody tissue?" The nurse happened to come over and called out to me. "Miss, how are you? Are you all right?" Donovan's eyes already showed suspicion. He asked the nurse, "Are you in obstetrics and gynecology? What exactly is wrong with my wife?" "Oh, so you're this Mrs. Husband? She just..." I immediately interjected. "I just ran too fast, I felt a little uncomfortable, and I just happened to meet this nurse who helped me." Donovan still didn't quite believe it. He pointed to the bloody tissue in my hand. "Then what is this? What is it?" I raised my hand and threw the wad of tissue into the trash can in the corner, saying softly, "I coughed a few times, there was a little bloody sputum, it's nothing." "Then what about the coffee you bought?" "I ran too fast, I spilled it on the way." Donovan's eyes were filled with guilt, and he hugged me tightly again. "I'm sorry, Serafina, I shouldn't have left you, and I shouldn't have let you go by any damn coffee." I struggled to get out of his embrace. "I'm fine now, you don't need to worry about me." But Donovan held me even tighter. "You're the person I love the most. How could I not worry about you?" The person he loved the most? I sneered. If he loved me, why would he cheat on me? I said, "I'm really fine, there are people coming and going here. Everyone is watching, let go of me." Donovan rested his chin on the top of my head and gently rubbed it. "Let them watch, haven't they seen a loving couple before?" Not far away, the nurse was still confused. Perhaps she didn't understand why my husband loved me and was so worried about me, yet I insisted on aborting the baby and stopped her from telling the truth. But there were no lack of stories outside the obstetrics and gynecology department. She had seen a lot, and she knew that it was best to be silent when she should be. I was afraid that if I stayed in the hospital any longer, I would be exposed sooner or later, so I suggested that I wanted to go home. Donovan naturally agreed. On the way to the parking lot, Donovan's phone lit up. I asked him, "Looks like someone is looking for you." Donovan turned off the phone. "It's about company matters, nothing much, it's not important. I'll take you home first." On the way driving, his phone rang. The caller ID was a series of numbers, with no name. Donovan frowned and complained. "These people are really useless, they call about every little thing." I smiled and asked, "What if it's important? Answer it, I'll put it on speakerphone for you." Donovan kept my hand away from his phone, saying softly, "No need, Serafina, it's nothing big. You're tired, just rest, I'll wake you up when we get home." Saying that, he turned off his phone directly. After returning home, Donovan carried me horizontally back to the bedroom, gently put me on the bed, and gently tucked me in. He leaned down and placed a soft kiss on my forehead. "Serafina, get a good sleep, I'll go to the company, I'll be back when you wake up, we'll have dinner together tonight, okay?" I nodded. He kissed me again. "Good girl." After he left, I waited for a while. After seeing his car leave in front of the French window, I turned on the computer at home. Donovan didn't have any precautions against me. There was no password on the home computer. After the computer turned on, WeChat automatically logged in. A familiar avatar almost stabbed my eyes. A cute little girl with twin ponytails. This was Melina's WeChat. And Donovan's note for her was, "Slutty Fox. Slutty Fox. Master, I'm so itchy." Attached was a photo. Melina's cheeks were flushed, her eyes hazy, and she stuck out her tongue to lick her fingers, unbearably seductive. After 2 minutes, a voice message popped up. Donovan's voice, one I knew all too well. I recognized it almost instantly. Donovan. Pregnant and still acting horny? Foxy. You're going on a cruise trip with Serafina next week, which means I won't get to see you for at least half a month, Master. Without you here, no one can scratch my itch. Donovan. Ha 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 ha, okay, I'll come over right now and give you some compensation in advance, Foxy. Hee hee, then you have to compensate me for half a month's worth all at once. Donovan through gritted teeth. Wait for me. I exported all their chat logs and saved them to the cloud. Texts, pictures, voice messages, everything. After finishing all that, I made an appointment on my phone to go to the police station the next day to change my name. Melina was right about one thing. Scumbags and cheap women are perfect for each other. I had my dignity and pride, and I couldn't be bothered to get entangled with them. Arguing would only give the onlookers a dramatic show, completely useless to me. What I needed to do was cut my losses in time and move forward. I took out my phone, opened the city service app, and booked the appointment for the next day. Donovan didn't come home all night. I expected that. Half a month's ration. He'd be busy for a while. I started calmly and systematically planning my future life. Clothes, shoes, handbags. I donated all of them to a charity. Daily necessities. I threw them out entirely. I had once seen a Southeast Asian island on an app. Beautiful scenery, pleasant weather. But because it's far from the mainland and has no direct flights, requiring multiple transfers to reach, it hasn't become a popular tourist spot. I chose that place as where I'd live next. I even browsed shopping websites and bought some bohemian-style clothes. Bright colors, bold designs, perfect for the island's vibe. And completely different from my usual modest, simple style. After finishing these tasks, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring blankly for a moment. I looked around the bedroom. It was filled with traces of Donovan's and my so-called love. Even the blanket we were using still had the bright red wedding characters on it. When I looked up, I saw our wedding photo hanging on the wall. I was wearing a pure white wedding dress, eyes filled with happiness and sweetness. Donovan lifted me high, his gaze full of tender affection. I let out a mocking laugh, then slammed the wedding photo onto the floor, smashing it into pieces. At 7 the next morning, the charity staff arrived. I handed them everything I had packed. The staff member frowned. "Ma'am, are you moving?" I shook my head. Then, "Are you getting divorced?" I smiled. Something like that. Maybe because I donated so much, they felt especially grateful and asked, "Ma'am, is there anything else we can help you with?" I thought for a moment, took out the shattered wedding photo, and said, "Please throw this away when you leave." After all that, I sat on the sofa and turned on the morning news. Donovan came back at 8:30. When he saw me, he was momentarily startled and flustered. "Serafina, why are you up so early? Don't you usually sleep until 9? I said, "Had a nightmare, so I got up." Donovan walked over and hugged me from behind. "Don't be scared, hubby's back." "What nightmare did my baby have?" I said softly. "I dreamed you fell in love with Melina. The two of you were going at it, having a great time." The moment I finished, the body holding me went stiff. I noticed his change and chuckled. "Scary, isn't it?" Dark circles shadowed Donovan's eyes, with a bit of puffiness. Clearly, he had given quite a lot last night. Stubble covered his chin, making him look exhausted. And his body carried a faint scent of women's perfume, along with the decadent smell of after-sex indulgence. Seems like the two of them had quite the night. He held me tighter and said, "Dreams are the opposite of reality. They're illogical, meaningless." I pushed him away. Dreams can also be prophetic. Maybe this one is warning me. Donovan sighed. "Serafina, if you're mad at me over just a dream, then I'm really innocent here." Then he changed the subject with a smile. "Baby, what do you want for breakfast? I'll make it." He went to the kitchen, skillfully taking out some toast, 2 eggs, meat and vegetables. Steamed eggs? Or a sandwich? I stood up and looked at him. "Donovan, do you love me?" Donovan said, "Of course I love you." I asked again, "Then will you fall in love with another woman?" His smile stiffened slightly. He didn't answer directly. He lowered his head and kept working on the food. "Don't overthink, baby. It was just a dream. Our relationship is great, and we're still trying for a baby. In the future, we'll live happily with our child, okay? In my heart, I said, you will have a family of 3, just not with me. I refused to be a fool kept in the dark. Beep, his phone buzzed again. Donovan glanced at it quickly, turned off the screen, and stuffed it back into his pocket. I asked directly, company matters again? Donovan mumbled, yeah. Then go quickly. Don't delay real work. Donovan kissed my hair. Good girl, don't overthink. I'll order your favorite wontons for breakfast, okay? Hubby has to go make money for you. The truth was, I no longer needed him to support me. I had another identity, an online illustrator known as Crimson. These years, though I appeared to be a housewife, I had drawn many works and had a large fan base. My artwork sold for a high price, enough to let me live comfortably for half a lifetime. Donovan put on his coat and left. After he left, I opened my computer again. Foxy, Master is amazing. I'm already chafed and it hurts so much. Donovan, rest for half a month. When I come back from the trip with Serafina, you'll probably be healed by then. Foxy, okay, I'll wait obediently for Master. Well behaved. JPG. Feeling bored, I closed the computer. I didn't even bother saving the chat logs. Such pointless conversations. I thought Melina would at least send a photo of the wound. If those photos were ever exposed, now that would be a show. While sorting clothes last night, I deliberately kept a white shirt for taking ID photos. I changed into the white shirt and went to the household registration office. The staff confirmed with me. Ms. Serafina, are you sure you want to change your name to Anna Smith? I nodded. Yes. The staff gave me a confused look. Serafina wasn't the most extraordinary name, but it was far more elegant than the extremely common Anna Smith. But what he didn't know was, I wanted exactly that. With a single thought released, 10,000 things become effortless. That day, Donovan came home from work in the evening, and even he noticed that I was in a good mood. He smiled and wanted to hug me. Serafina, did something good happen? I just smiled and said, you'll know in a week. Donovan raised an eyebrow and smiled. Perfect timing. I also have good news to tell you. Is that so? I said lackadaisically, being perfunctory and avoiding his closeness. Donovan stubbornly pursued. Aren't you even going to ask? Of course I didn't need to ask because I was reborn. A week later would be my birthday, and Donovan was taking me on a cruise to celebrate, sailing out to sea. We spent 2 wonderful days, watching the sunrise, the seagulls, and the whales. On the 3rd day, we encountered a shipwreck. Until the moment before I was reborn, I firmly believed he loved me. Then I heard his last words before he died, asking me to take care of Melina and their child. Donovan didn't notice my coldness, and continued to coax me gently. It's your birthday in a week, and your husband has prepared a special birthday gift for you. I said lackadaisically, oh, Serafina, are you looking forward to it? I replied with a single faint word. What I was really thinking was, I wasn't looking forward to it at all. No matter how good the gift was, if the person giving it was wrong, it was all meaningless. After all, I had just had a miscarriage, and although it was a medical abortion, the process was incredibly difficult, and I hardly slept last night. I could feel my weakness. The new ID would be ready in a week, and I had to recuperate in that week. I prepared a nutritious dinner for myself, with meat, eggs, and milk. In the clay pot was simmering ginseng, black-bone chicken, and wolfberries, my nutritious tonic soup. Donovan saw it and was pleasantly surprised. Baby Serafina, are you preparing your body for pregnancy? I smiled and didn't say anything. Donovan assumed I was acquiescing and became happy. He hugged me from behind, his lips also landing on my neck, circling and hinting. Then we'll start tonight, The damp sensation on my neck felt like needles on my back, as if a cold snake was crawling over me. I quickly pushed him away. Donovan still wanted to get close, but his phone suddenly rang. He finally let go of me, giving me a wary look. A client. Serafina, I'll go take this call. Okay. I knew it was Melina calling, but I didn't care anymore. Just then my phone also vibrated. It was a meaningless notification. I casually scrolled through my moments and saw that Melina had posted a set of 9 pictures 10 minutes ago. Melina, worked all day, made a big table of food. I wish someone could eat with me. The pictures below were all dishes, and after a quick scroll, I realized they were almost all dishes that Donovan liked. Soon, Donovan finished his phone call and returned. He explained apologetically to me. Serafina, I'm sorry, a big client is coming, and I have to go entertain them. We'll start trying for a baby tomorrow night, okay? I still nodded. Okay. Donovan hugged me and kissed me. Serafina is so good. After he left, I calmly ate the nutritious meal I had made for myself. An hour later, I figured enough time had passed, so I packed my phone, hailed a cab, and went straight to Melina's house. After ringing the doorbell, Melina's sweet, affected voice came. Who is it? Coming at this hour, really picking the time. I sneered and said loudly, It's me, Serafina. My husband is out socializing, and I saw you made delicious food on Moments, so I'm coming to freeload. Melina's voice was very unnatural. Freeloading? It's not convenient today. I deliberately asked. You made so much food, can you eat it all by yourself? Open the door, I'm starving to death. If you don't open it, I'll just scan my fingerprint to get in. Melina had no choice but to say. Then wait a moment. Then there was a flurry of footsteps inside, and the sounds of a closet opening and closing, and curtains being drawn. It took a long time for Melina to open the door. The lipstick on her mouth was smeared, there were hickeys on her neck, and she hadn't even buttoned her clothes properly. The buttons were all wrong. I deliberately smiled and asked her. Did you get robbed? Why are you so disheveled? Melina hastily tidied her messy hair, forcing a smile and saying, No, I was just flustered while cooking. Why is your mouth swollen? I burned my lips just now when I was tasting the soup. It's swollen. It hurts so much. I knew she was trying to cover up, because I smelled the familiar men's cologne on her, the one I bought for Donovan. I walked past her and was about to enter the house. I'm so hungry, let me see what delicious things you made. Melina quickly ran over and stopped me. Serafina, you don't like any of this, how about this? I'll treat you to a meal outside my treat, okay? I raised my eyebrows. There's already food made at home. Why should we eat out? Melina stammered. Just consider it repaying you and your husband for taking care of me all this time. Let's go. Melina kept pushing me out, secretly glancing at the window. She pushed me out of the house, then quickly turned around and locked the door. She breathed a sigh of relief, still affectionately holding my arm. Okay, let's go. It seemed like the crisis was over, but they were still careless. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the tip of a black men's leather shoe peeking out from under the floor-to-ceiling curtains. The very pair Donovan was wearing when he left. I picked them out for him myself for his birthday last year. Melina was still chattering, urging me to leave as soon as possible. I coldly shook her off. Melina was bewildered by my sudden behavior. Serafina, what's wrong? Suddenly remembered, there's still something I haven't done. Melina blinked her eyes in confusion. What is it? I smiled without saying anything. You'll know in a week. Are you still eating? Not eating, I'm leaving. I took a taxi and left, leaving Melina alone, a mess in the wind. In the rearview mirror, I saw her angrily cursing at my taxi, punching and kicking, and giving me the middle finger. So what? What can she do? In the taxi, relying on my memories from the previous life, I found the contact information for the cruise tour group. Hello, I would like to change the personnel for the trip in a week. Is it still possible? The staff replied, Yes, ma'am, you can change it up to a week in advance. I smiled. I would like to change Serafina's name to Melina. The staff quickly checked the order placed by Donovan, and she confirmed with me again. Ms. Serafina is being changed to Ms. Melina, correct? That's right. Okay, it has been changed for you. Please have Mr. Donovan and Ms. Melina bring their documents to board the ship. Everything was ready. I looked at the rapidly receding trees outside the window, and the corners of my lips curved upward. In the following days, Donovan was still very busy. He was either socializing, entertaining clients, or even on a business trip for 3 days. Melina was squeezing in every possible moment, trying to monopolize him during the time before he went to sea. Donovan also felt a little guilty towards me, and became more attentive and considerate. He would get up at 7 o'clock every morning to make me breakfast, and send brand-name clothes, shoes, and bags home as if they didn't cost anything. I didn't even open any of them. I couldn't even be bothered to look at them. Before his business trip, Donovan instructed me, "Serafina, don't worry, I will definitely come back to celebrate your birthday." I just smiled faintly. "Your work is important. You don't have to be with me if you're busy." Donovan pointed to the sky and swore, "You are the woman I love most in this life. Even if knives are falling from the sky on your birthday, I will be by your side." I laughed as if I had heard the funniest joke in the world. After that, I still focused on nourishing myself with food and ensuring I got enough sleep. I have to say, I was taking good care of myself. I could clearly feel my body recovering quickly. A week later, also on my birthday, I received my new documents as I wished. I used my new ID to book a plane ticket, and exchanged all the money in my bank card for Southeast Asian currency. After I finished all this, I received a call from Donovan. "Baby, I'm back from my business trip. Are you home? I'm going to pick you up now. Let's go to the pier together to board the ship." I didn't say anything, because I heard a familiar female voice coming from beside him. Although it was suppressed very, very low, I've heard Melina's voice for over 20 years, I'm too familiar with it. She cooed and whined flirtatiously, "Stay with me a little longer." Donovan covered the phone, reprimanding softly, "Don't make trouble." His phone quality is indeed quite good. Even with it covered, I could hear clearly. "No need," I said. "I'll just take a taxi. Then I'll send the location." Before he could finish, I hung up the phone directly. Soon, Donovan sent the location of the dock. I directly blacklisted him, then edited a timed text message. Inside was a cloud storage link, containing all their chat logs, pictures, and videos. In 1 hour, this text message would be sent simultaneously to Donovan, Melina, and the city's largest media platform. I had no luggage, only a shoulder bag, packed with a few changes of underwear, and the new ID I just received. After booking a plane ticket with the new name, I took a taxi to the airport. After doing all this, I stylishly pulled out the SIM card, snapped it in half, and threw it and the phone into the trash can. The airport broadcast was already urging, "Attention Anna Smith, your flight is about to depart. Please proceed to the boarding gate as soon as possible." I had a playful smile as I sat on the plane waiting for takeoff. This flight will take 2 hours. By the time I land, the show will have already begun. Donovan was a little surprised that the call was hung up. His wife had always been gentle, and rarely hung up on someone before they finished speaking. Did something urgent happen? Probably not. She's at home, with so many servants. If something really happened, the servants would contact him. But for some reason, Donovan suddenly felt extremely anxious. Melina was still clinging to him. "What's wrong? Why are you frowning so hard?" Donovan ruthlessly pulled her off him, put on his clothes, grabbed his car keys and left. He drove alone to the dock according to the original route. Clearly everything was going smoothly. Even the scenery speeding past the car window was familiar, but for some reason he felt like something was wrong. Could there be a problem with Serafina? Like she had already arrived at the dock and was waiting for him? Thinking of this, Donovan could no longer drive with peace of mind. He prepared his words and called Serafina, but after the busy signal, instead of hearing her voice, he heard a cold, impersonal recorded message. "Sorry, the subscriber you have dialed is currently switched off." He tried again, unwilling to give up, but the result was the same, he couldn't get through. In his memory, she never had the habit of turning off her phone, unless it was just a coincidence that her phone had run out of power. He could only know the answer when he saw her in person. Donovan pondered for a moment, then turned the steering wheel and quickly made a U-turn, heading straight home. As soon as he entered the door, half of his worries disappeared. Because the servants were all working in an orderly manner, it didn't seem like anything had happened. "Sir, you're back," Donovan asked. "Where's Madam? How long has she been out?" The servant said, "Madam left early in the morning. It's been 5 or 6 hours. 5 or 6 hours. But half an hour ago, when he called her, she said she was at home." A bad feeling welled up in Donovan's heart. He asked again, "Did Madam take a suitcase when she went out?" The servant shook her head and said, "No, just a small carry-on bag, nothing else." No suitcase either? No, the servant asked. Sir, could madam have gone directly to the dock to wait for you? Donovan gritted his teeth, immediately ran out to restart the car, increased the pressure on the accelerator, eager to see the figure that could make him feel at ease. But even if he increased the speed to the maximum within the bounds of safety, it would still take an hour to drive from here to the dock. Time passed second by second, and by the time Donovan saw the blue sea in the distance, his patience was nearly exhausted. He parked the car as quickly as he could and headed straight for the place he had arranged to meet Serafina. The weather was particularly sunny today, and the dock was bustling with tourists, making the surrounding atmosphere incredibly lively. Donovan finally pushed his way through the crowd to the boarding entrance, but Serafina was not there. His wife was quite frugal, so she probably didn't take a taxi but took a bus. If that was the case, she would be much slower than him. Donovan shook his head and comforted himself. Unexpectedly, as he turned around, he saw a figure he absolutely didn't want to see at that moment. Melina, wearing a brightly colored dress and sunglasses, standing not far away. If Serafina were to see this scene, he wouldn't be able to clear his name even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Donovan quickly walked forward, pulled Melina to a secluded, uninhabited place, and questioned her in a low voice. Didn't I tell you, we can't see each other lately? Serafina will be here soon, leave quickly, don't let her see you. As he said this, he didn't forget to look around vigilantly, afraid that Serafina would arrive at the wrong time and happen to hear their conversation. Melina rolled her eyes indifferently, grabbed the hem of his clothes, and complained coyly. Why are you so angry? You're all sweet talk when we're in bed, but you turn your back on me as soon as we get out of bed. Donovan's tone became even angrier. Don't say useless things here, leave quickly. Seeing that he was actually angry with her for Serafina's sake, Melina not only didn't intend to leave, but instead put on a mysterious smile, holding her waist and said, Don't forget, I'm still pregnant with your child, don't push me. Donovan shifted his gaze guiltily. Now is not the time to talk about these things anyway, you go back first today, I'll think of something else later. If you're waiting for Serafina, I advise you to give up. Melina interrupted him with a smile. Donovan asked suspiciously, What do you mean? Serafina is much smarter than you think. She's known about us for a long time. She just didn't call us out before, but now she's figured it out, so she decided to quit and fulfill us. She didn't feel the slightest bit ashamed for betraying Serafina, nor did she feel sorry for their friendship, because that kind of thing never existed in the first place. But Donovan was struck by lightning, stunned in place and unable to speak. Seeing this, Melina thought he was dizzy with joy, continued to hold his hand, and moved it to her belly, which was not yet showing. From now on we won't have to meet secretly, we can be together openly. What do you think? Aren't you especially happy? The more obvious the joy in her voice, the more Donovan's mood collapsed. He suddenly felt dizzy and almost fainted on the spot. Until she reached out to help him, he suddenly had the strength to push her away. Melina's hand made a crisp sound when he pushed her away. Donovan gritted his teeth and stood up straight, walking away without looking back, while taking out his phone and constantly calling Serafina. Sorry, the subscriber you have dialed is currently switched off. This prompt rang in his ears countless times, until he felt nauseous. Donovan didn't want to listen anymore. He hung up the phone, and his expression slumped as he lowered his hand, not even noticing that the phone almost fell to the ground, realizing belatedly that he had been deceived by Serafina. The so-called trip was just a guise. She had planned today long ago, just to deceive everyone in a legitimate way. She succeeded. Donovan naturally didn't want to separate from Serafina like this. He dragged his heavy steps towards the parking lot, intending to rush back to find her as quickly as possible. Where would she go? To the park for a walk? Or to a friend's house for comfort? But her best friend is Melina. Who else would she go to besides Melina? What made him stop was the staff's urging to board the ship from the broadcast. Passengers who have not yet boarded, please go to the boarding point as soon as possible. The cruise ship is about to set sail. Serafina was always punctual, and if she hadn't shown up by now, she wouldn't be appearing again. If he wasn't with her, then the next trip would be meaningless. Donovan didn't hesitate to give up the opportunity to board the ship, heading straight for the car, until a tour guide wearing a baseball cap with the travel agency's logo rushed over and stopped him. Excuse me, are you Donovan, Mr. Donovan? It's too late if you don't board the ship. Please come with me and your wife to go through the boarding procedures. The tour guide held a stack of documents in his hand, clearly waiting here just to stop him. Donovan shook his head bitterly. No need. She didn't come. I'm not going alone. By the way, my wife's name is Serafina. You pronounced it wrong just now. The tour guide froze for a second, then quickly put on a polite smile again and rechecked, saying, That shouldn't be wrong. You and your wife Melina booked today's trip with our agency. Look, here's the list. Black and white on paper, everything clear. The travelers scheduled for today were Donovan and Melina. Donovan stared at the paper, feeling it was unbearably harsh to his eyes. He suddenly looked up at the tour guide, gritting his teeth. What is wrong with your agency? My wife's name is Serafina. Today is the day she and I were supposed to travel together. How do you people even do your jobs? I want to file a complaint. His pent-up fury finally found a target. His expression twisted into something almost terrifying, making the tour guide hurry to explain this misunderstanding. Mr. Donovan, please calm down first. We don't know what you and your wife discussed, but the documents we have indeed show the names of you and Ms. Melina. Why don't we talk on the boat? If you don't board now, ticket checking will really end. Donovan ignored the guide's anxiety and pressed on aggressively. Your work has such a massive mistake. How can I calm down? We must make this clear right here. The guide had no choice but to reveal what he shouldn't. Mr. Donovan, it's true that the list originally had you and Ms. Serafina, but about a week ago, she personally contacted us and requested to change your companion to Melina. All the procedures were completed long ago. If you have questions, you should ask her. Melina's name was changed at Serafina's request. Could it be that she really wanted to push him to Melina? Because she found out the truth of their betrayal? For a moment, Donovan felt the air around him solidify. The sea breeze chilled him to the bone, and he didn't even have the strength to speak. At which point had things gone wrong? How did Serafina find out he cheated with Melina? How much did she know? How long had she been planning? An overwhelming fear swallowed him whole. Seeing his face turn so pale, the tour guide didn't dare linger. After confirming he wasn't boarding, he hurried back to the ship. Melina, pregnant and unable to walk fast, arrived only after some struggle. By then the tour guide was already walking away. Too far to chase. All she could do was grab Donovan anxiously. Why are you still standing here? We need to hurry or all that money will be wasted. But Donovan stood rooted to the ground. Melina couldn't move him at all. His expression grew darker and darker. His face was ghostly pale, and his eyes were bloodshot. He looked like a trapped beast, and his voice was frightening. Tell me, did you deliberately tell her everything? A suspicion had formed in his heart, though he had no evidence. Now he stared at Melina as if trying to see straight through her. Melina instinctively stepped back, then put on a tearful expression, trying to defend herself. You're asking me? I'd like to know who I should ask. Donovan, I've been accommodating you so much lately. How could you think so badly of me? I was already in the wrong. Why would I ever tell her about us? As usual, Melina pushed the blame onto Donovan, then coaxed and pressured him to stop thinking about Serafina. Besides, I think things are great now. She couldn't satisfy you in bed anyway. Now that she's sensible enough to step aside, no one will bother us again. Her words were cold and cruel. She didn't care at all whether Serafina lived or died. She cared only about enjoying the trip, as if her good mood mattered more than a person's life. Shut up. Donovan snapped, unable to bear another second. His eyes overflowed with undisguised disgust. Get lost. Disappear from my sight immediately. Melina never expected him to humiliate her publicly like this. Her eyes reddened instantly. She bit her lip, refusing to move, clearly determined to stop him. Donovan was sick of her. He tried to go around her, but when she stubbornly followed him step by step, he finally lost all patience and shoved her hard. He didn't hold back. Melina staggered and nearly fell to the ground. The nearby tourists had been watching only out of curiosity, but now they stared at him, some shocked, some judging, and began whispering. A man hitting a woman? And she looks pregnant. No matter the conflict, he should talk instead. What conflict? Isn't it obvious he wants a wife at home and a mistress outside? And now he's getting exposed? Teasy. Shameful. Parading around with a mistress in public. Sigh society these days. Donovan felt his face burn with humiliation. He had nothing to say and could only slink away. Melina had only wanted to travel with him. Maybe use the crowd's judgment to pressure him a bit. But seeing him run off, leaving even their luggage behind, she hurried after him. Wait. Her only reply was his rapidly disappearing figure. Donovan ignored her completely. He slammed the car door shut and sped away from the pier like a madman. Even when the navigation repeatedly warned him about speeding, he didn't slow down. Serafina knew the truth. Serafina left. Serafina pushed him to Melina. These thoughts spun endlessly in his mind, and he clung desperately to the last hope. Serafina was so gentle and loved him so much. She must just be upset and trying to spite him. The city was big, but she didn't have many close friends. Even if she left in anger, she would go home eventually. Convinced she had nowhere else to go, Donovan drove straight home. He slammed the brakes, rushed out of the car, shoved the door open, and asked the startled housemaid, "Did my wife call?" The maid hadn't expected him to return so soon from a trip, and shook her head in confusion. Donovan didn't bother saying more. Seeing she knew nothing, he hurried past her, and went straight toward his and Sarah. Melina was publicly accused by Donovan, and immediately her face lost all composure. Outraged and humiliated, she retorted angrily, "Am I not her best friend? Then what about you, Donovan? You keep saying you love her, so why did you climb into my bed? Tell me." Her words completely shattered his hypocritical facade. "You." Donovan was furious, his eyes bloodshot with rage, raising his hand as if to strike. The police stepped forward first to stop him, sternly shouting, "This is a police station, not a marketplace. If you want to argue, take it outside and don't disturb everyone here." Seeing someone come to her aid, Melina grew bolder and exposed Donovan's old secrets. "Don't forget, we were both involved in deceiving her. I'm pregnant with your child now. Do you dare tell her about this? I can tell that she clearly doesn't want to see you, and yet you." Her voice suddenly dropped as she clutched her lower abdomen in pain, her expression turning anguished. Others who had been eagerly watching and gossiping, now crowded even closer. Someone sharp-eyed pointed out, "Blood. There's blood on her clothes." Melina's skirt was stained with spreading blood that became more glaring as she bent over. The police quickly turned around to ask, "Ma'am, how do you feel right now?" "It hurts. My stomach hurt so much." Melina was so uncomfortable she couldn't even speak clearly. It seemed the quarrel had caused her to have a threatened miscarriage. In the midst of chaos, the police called an ambulance and summoned colleagues to help carry Melina out. Donovan originally didn't want to bother with her, but thinking about the child in her womb, his child, he steeled himself and followed to the hospital. After only a short wait outside the emergency room, a doctor emerged with a solemn face and asked, "Are there family members present?" The police pointed directly at Donovan. "He is." At this stage, it was impossible for Donovan to deny any connection with Melina. He had no choice but to approach the doctor and ask about Melina's condition. The doctor said gravely, "I advise you to prepare yourself mentally. The patient has a threatened miscarriage with signs of an imminent abortion. Immediate surgery is necessary. Otherwise, there is a risk of severe hemorrhaging. As the father of the child, you must sign the surgical consent form." This child was doomed to be lost. From now on, their only hope was to save the mother as much as possible. Though Donovan despised Melina deeply, this was his first time being a father. Knowing that the child carrying his blood was about to be lost, he painfully accepted the pen and paper handed by a nurse. Just as his nose almost touched the paper, a nearly wailing voice rang out from the emergency room. "No, he cannot sign because he is not the father of the child." Melina was already lying on the emergency bed, but thinking about this misunderstanding, she weakly recited a well-rehearsed phone number. "This is the real father's number. Please call him to come here." The nurse complied, and about 20 minutes later, another man hurried to the emergency room entrance. He looked anxious, sweat pouring down his forehead. His voice, though tense, was steady as he said, "I'm Melina's husband. Is she still inside?" "Yes, miss. Zhao has a threatened miscarriage. Regardless of whether the child can be saved, you must first sign this consent form." The nurse handed him a brand new contract. Donovan stood to the side, like an unnecessary backdrop, completely dumbfounded and unable to understand the meaning behind this stranger. What do you mean he's Melina's husband? Wasn't her so-called husband just a fabrication to deal with Serafina? The man didn't even notice the gazes fixed on him. He quickly signed the form and nervously pleaded with the nurse. Please, you must save my wife. She's still young, she can have children later. Now her safety is the most important. His sincerity was unmistakable. Even his disheveled appearance showed he had rushed here immediately after receiving the call. The nurse took the signed form, assuring him she would do her best, and hurriedly returned inside the emergency room. Outside, only Donovan and the stranger remained, staring at each other. Only then did the stranger notice the other person, and quickly stepped up to Donovan. You're the one who brought my wife here, right? Thank you so much. If I'm guessing correctly, you must be Donovan? He didn't just know of Donovan's existence, he knew what he looked like. Donovan, on the other hand, knew nothing about this man and asked suspiciously, Who are you? The man warmly introduced himself. I'm Victor, Melina's husband. She must have mentioned me to you too, haven't you remembered? Victor. Donovan had certainly heard that name before. After all, Melina often spoke of a mysterious national intelligence agent named Victor who was away on business trips. He never thought this person actually existed. Though Melina often mentioned Victor to Serafina, Donovan believed it was just an excuse she made up to cover their affair and explain her pregnancy. He never expected this man to be real, let alone appear right before his eyes. The atmosphere in the corridor was heavy and suffocating. Victor, absorbed with worry over Melina, didn't suspect anything else and even willingly shared information Donovan didn't know. It's okay if you don't remember. I intend to thank you and Miss Serafina sooner or later. Melina mentioned you and your wife often. She said when I was busy at work, you two looked after her for me. I feel really ashamed. My job is special. When I'm on business trips, I can't even contact my family, so I was neglectful. I couldn't even care for her when she was pregnant, and I never imagined something like this would happen. He sighed sadly. Seeing Donovan still standing nearby, he forced a smile. But thankfully she's safe. I'll spend more time with her now, no longer troubling you and your wife. By the way, where is Miss Serafina? To ensure her affair wouldn't be discovered, Melina often lied to both Serafina and Donovan about Victor, portraying Serafina as her best friend and often having her and Donovan, her husband, take care of her. Victor's demanding work didn't give him time to verify this, so he believed it wholeheartedly. Seeing Donovan standing alone in the hospital corridor naturally made Victor think of Serafina. Unbeknownst to him, Donovan found everything happening around him both ironic and absurd. Donovan had always thought he controlled the game, with a gentle, considerate wife and an exciting lover, until Victor's arrival shattered the illusion. He realized he was the real fool who had been kept in the dark by Melina, not only Serafina. Donovan was simply a tool Melina used to fill her loneliness. The realization blacked out his vision, threatening to make him faint. Fortunately, at that moment, the nurse pushed open the emergency room doors and wheeled out Melina, who was now out of danger. Family members, help bring the patient back to the ward. Victor sprinted forward, clasped Melina's hand and said with deep affection, Honey, I'm here. How do you feel now? I've already thanked Mr. Donovan for you. Don't think about anything else, just rest. Melina was still groggy, somewhat drowsy, but when she heard that Donovan hadn't left, she immediately snapped awake. After sizing up her husband's expression and seeing he was unaware of what she had done to Donovan, she quietly breathed a sigh of relief and then, glancing over Victor, gave Donovan a meaningful look. Their eyes met briefly before quickly breaking apart, Melina looking away guiltily, while Donovan followed silently all the way to the ward, expressionless. Victor assumed Donovan was just the husband of Melina's best friend, there to visit, and politely invited him to sit, then returned to tenderly care for Melina. He was true to his word, genuinely remorseful as he took care of Melina. But Melina was deep in thought. To send Victor away on a trivial errand, she hastily lied. I'm a bit thirsty. Please buy me some water. Not from the hospital's hot water dispenser, but the brand I usually drink. Victor frowned, puzzled. You just had surgery. How can you drink cold water? I'll get you some hot water first. Melina furrowed her brows and snapped. Buy it first, then boil it in the kettle. Do I have to teach you this? Victor, seeing her displeased, didn't dare delay any longer, and quickly left the ward to buy water. All right, I'm going now. He also addressed Donovan earnestly. Mr. Donovan, sorry to trouble you. Please look after her while I'm gone. I'll be back soon. Donovan nodded mechanically, and once Victor left, he shot a sharp glance at Melina lying on the bed. The air around them felt suffocatingly tense. Seeing Donovan's face darken, Melina showed no guilt, instead smirking with mockery and asked, "What are you still doing here?" Donovan stared at her, barely able to squeeze out the words. "Why did you lie to me?" If he had known she really had a husband with whom she had a good relationship, he would never have played the fool. But now, realizing everything was too late. Why? Melina sneered, her tone laced with unexplained bitterness. Because I'm jealous of her. Clearly, I'm not much worse than her, so why has she had all the good things since childhood? Teachers liked her, boys surrounded her, even my parents always compared me to her, telling me to be more like her. If it were just that, fine. But then we got married around the same time. She married you, a wealthy and attentive man, while I ended up with a secret agent I see only a few times a year, and who can't even tell me about his job. To be fair, Victor's qualifications were more than decent. Even on the dating market, he'd be highly sought after. He was especially loyal, never close with any other woman except Melina. Donovan never thought the reason Melina seduced him was so absurd. He froze on the spot and fell silent as if struck dumb. His supposed charm was a lie. Her choice of him had nothing to do with him. It was all revenge against Serafina. With Serafina gone, her actions were meaningless, so she no longer bothered to pretend. Melina recklessly radiated malice toward Serafina in front of him. Just thinking about my lonely widow's life while she lived happily in love made me jealous to madness. So I was determined to take away what she cared about most. Looks like I won. She successfully proved to Donovan that she was more charming than Serafina. Seeing he was no longer useful, she spoke even more harshly. Don't think I really fell for you. Stop being so deluded. Donovan found his voice again to ask the crucial question. What's going on with the child? You kept saying you were carrying my baby. Now, at this critical moment, you bring your husband to sign the consent form. If the child doesn't miscarry, are you planning to keep lying? He and Serafina hadn't wanted children after marriage. His weakness for Melina was partly due to a desperate desire for a child. But now that hope was shattered. Melina didn't deny his suspicion but explained, "You're overthinking. I called Victor because I just confirmed on the operating table that the child is his. After all, I've been with both of you, so I couldn't be sure myself. Regardless of which man was the father, the child was hers. Instead of wasting time and effort juggling lies, it was easier to treat this as a check good for two uses." Melina only had to choose her legal husband when the doctor said they'd check medical records to avoid unnecessary trouble. Donovan trembled with anger and cursed. "With all the mess you've made, why would you even compare yourself to Serafina? You're so dark-hearted and vile, not even worthy to carry her shoes." The two had completely torn apart their relationship. Dark-hearted? Don't forget, you're no saint yourself. Melina mocked, seeing Donovan swaggering arrogantly in the ward. "Donovan, how are you better than me? I only hinted a little and teased you, and you couldn't resist and jumped into my bed. You even forbade me from telling Serafina. I think we're two sides of the same coin. Neither of us has the moral high ground." She said all these without pause, not even stumbling over her words, clearly having kept these feelings bottled up for a long time. Donovan's hidden pain was struck, and fearing she would expose more, he fled faster than before. Driving home from the hospital didn't take long, and it was a route he knew well. He could have done it with his eyes closed. But he was distracted and missed a traffic light, nearly crashing into another car at a nearby intersection. The screeching brakes jolted him back to full alert. The driver ahead rolled down his window and angrily shouted, "Do you even know how to drive? The straight light is red. You may drive well, but you're brainless. I bet one day you won't be so lucky." Donovan had never been good-tempered since childhood. If someone secretly insulted him, and he found out, they would be in serious trouble. But now, in the wrong and utterly exhausted, he could only stand silently as the other vented. After a few insults, the man suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "Hey, you're the CEO of the Fu Group, right?" Donovan was taken aback. He rarely appeared on financial programs, so his exposure was minimal. How could just any passerby recognize him? "You know me?" The man chuckled. "Who doesn't know the famous Donovan? Secretly having an affair with your wife's best friend and sweet-talking women. By the way, nice mole on your ass." Donovan was stunned instantly. He quickly opened the news and discovered that as early as this afternoon, he and Melina had topped the local media's trending search list. A large number of chat records, pictures, and short videos were spreading everywhere, practically in everyone's hands. There were even many explicit videos of him flirting with Melina. Ha ha ha, so you rich people have such low moral standards. Now everyone knows, this is really a good show. Donovan stood there blankly for a long time, unable to react. Only he and Melina had those pieces of evidence. Melina obviously wanted to deceive both sides and wouldn't have posted them. Could it be? At that moment, he noticed an unread message on his phone. It was from Serafina. He had been so busy looking for someone that he hadn't noticed. He opened the message, which contained a cloud storage link. Clicking on the link, he found exactly the same pictures and videos as those on the trending search. Donovan understood everything. Serafina had known all along. He slumped back in the car, covering his eyes with his arm. Near dawn, Donovan dragged his exhausted body back home. He looked around at the changes and felt deep regret gnawing at him. If he had known how vicious Melina was to this extent, there was no way he would have done such a foolish thing. But now it was too late to talk about it. The once warm and cozy house had completely lost any resemblance to the past. He pushed open the bedroom door and, before remembering their shared memories, was first struck by the silent, cold air. Donovan's legs went weak, and he helplessly collapsed onto the floor. At the same time, Serafina, who had already changed her name to Anna Smith, was enjoying a long overdue vacation by the seaside on the island of Hawaii. In front of her was an easel, upon which she was quietly painting not only the recent seascapes, but also the figures of surfers in the distance. One of them was a young man with a model-like physique, also Asian, which naturally gave a sense of closeness in a foreign land. Anna Smith was deeply engrossed in her painting and didn't even notice when he came ashore and approached her, suddenly speaking. "Are you painting me?" Startled, Anna Smith almost knocked the easel over on the beach. The young man hurriedly steadied the easel, smiling as he explained, "Don't be afraid. I'm not here to make trouble. This is a public place. You have the freedom to paint whatever you like. I just found you somewhat familiar and wondered if that person was me." Admiring his good figure up close, Anna Smith felt her cheeks flush and replied truthfully, "Yes." The man carefully examined the unfinished painting for a moment, nodding appreciatively, then made a request. "I see your painting technique is very mature. Could you paint a portrait for my grandmother? I know it's presumptuous to ask this at our first meeting, but you can think it over before deciding. My name's Adrian. I live nearby in a vacation estate." Before he finished speaking, he pulled out a business card from the pocket of the coat draped over his shoulders. Besides his name, it showed his position and company location. Since they were strangers who had just met, Anna Smith's first instinct was to refuse this request for a portrait session at his home. However, when Adrian discussed the payment, he offered a figure no one could easily reject. Anna Smith asked in disbelief, "Are you sure you're paying this much for a portrait?" Adrian nodded and said, puzzled, "Is the price too low? That's okay. I can add more as long as you're willing to help me." Anna Smith scrutinized Adrian carefully before asking suspiciously, "Are you serious?" His business card was exquisitely designed, his position was high-ranking, and the company name seemed familiar, likely a large enterprise. Moreover, his surfing skills were professional. He was obviously an experienced surfer. This sport was quite costly. She realized he definitely wasn't short of money, and buying an expensive portrait for his grandmother was well within his means. But would a successful person make such an unprofitable deal? One must always be cautious, especially in a foreign land. Adrian smiled knowingly and said, "Are you worried I'm a bad person? I know approaching you like this is suspicious, but somehow, when I saw your painting from afar, I got curious about the subject. When I got closer, I just couldn't look away." If that's a compliment, I must admit I appreciate it, Anna Smith admitted sincerely. She genuinely loved painting, but that didn't mean she didn't want others' recognition. Adrian took the opportunity to say, my grandmother loves painting as a hobby, so I've been influenced by her and learned a bit too. The most important thing in painting is not the technique but the emotion and effort you put into it. If you're willing, please come to this address tomorrow morning. Knowing that saying too much might scare Serafina off, he left only his card and address, then turned and left the beach, leaving her alone, pondering over the name on the card. Serafina felt she had seen this name somewhere before, but with so many people having the same names, she couldn't be sure. The next morning, carried by curiosity and the lure of a generous reward, Serafina appeared at the estate. She hesitated upon arrival, noticing that a banquet was underway. Adrian seemed to sense her hesitation and personally welcomed her. I knew you'd come. Seeing her puzzled look at the estate decorations, Adrian explained. Today is my grandmother's birthday. There's a birthday party here, so many relatives and friends are present. Serafina realized. So the portrait for your grandmother is meant as her birthday gift? That's quite unique. Her previous doubts immediately vanished. Adrian appeared very familiar and friendly, though they had just met. He said confidently, it's part of the gift. I'd like you to do me a favor first. Come with me to meet my grandmother, okay? Serafina agreed without hesitation. After all, a portrait should be made in person. But things were clearly not so simple. Adrian didn't take her to the living room, but instead led her inside the estate, opening a door that clearly led to a private residence. With great enthusiasm, he introduced her to a kindly-looking elderly lady. Grandma, this is Serafina I told you about. Hello, Grandma, Serafina greeted politely, thinking this was a formal introduction for a painter, but the next second heard the woman say with a smile, you must be Adrian's girlfriend, right? He's always talking about you. Today he finally brought you out. What was going on? Serafina's eyes widened in disbelief as she looked at Adrian, who quickly shielded his grandmother's gaze and pleaded in a low voice only they could hear. I had no choice but to use this trick. Please help me out and pretend to be my girlfriend. No wonder he was willing to pay so much for the painting. It was the fee for hiring a fake girlfriend. Serafina didn't want to lie, but faced with Adrian's earnest eyes and the grandmother's delighted expression, she couldn't bear to disappoint them. Steeling herself, she agreed softly. Okay, but if we get found out, don't blame me. They had just met yesterday, so if the grandmother asked too many questions, their lie would be exposed immediately. Adrian had clearly prepared for this, and before the grandmother could inquire about how they met or their future plans, someone came to call her, saying an old friend had arrived. The grandmother had to leave to greet the guest, but not before reminding Adrian. It's Serafina's first time visiting. Don't treat her poorly. Adrian nodded repeatedly. After the house emptied, only he and Serafina remained inside. He breathed a long sigh of relief and earnestly said, Thank you for helping me. I know this was abrupt and presumptuous, but my family has been pressuring me to marry for a long time. Especially my grandmother has been hoping I'd settle down. He told her openly about his situation. He was an only child, nearing 30, but had never dated because his heart was already taken. The family's urgency was understandable. Having come all this way and moved by his deep feelings, Serafina agreed to help. To prevent her from changing her mind, Adrian quickly prepared formal wear and shoes, asking her to accompany him as his date to the evening banquet. Coincidentally, the outfit was not only styled to her taste, but also fit her perfectly. Serafina was not stupid. After the banquet, she asked Adrian a question that had been on her mind. Have we met somewhere before? Adrian, seeing that she was finally recalling, told her the story under the moonlit courtyard. It's a long story that goes back to when we were students. As it turned out, they had indeed met before, and more than once, but she simply didn't remember. Adrian was a senior several years ahead of her who had long admired her quietly during college. Unfortunately, back then, her relationship with Donovan was strong, and she didn't even notice anyone else. He bitterly said, I thought we had no fate this lifetime. I didn't expect to run into you again on the beach. Though I'm here on vacation, I've stayed in touch with friends back home. They told me something important. You and Donovan have broken up. With that, can you give me a chance to be my boyfriend? Serafina never expected such a sincere love had been waiting for her in the shadows for so many years. Saying she was unmoved would be a lie. But having just come out of a painful relationship, starting anew so soon was really too much to ask. Fortunately, Adrian had never intended to force her and politely asked, "May I walk you home?" Serafina's heart was in turmoil, but she didn't outright refuse. At parting, she looked into his eyes and asked, "Do you really understand me?" "Of course," Adrian nodded without hesitation. "If you don't think I understand, you can give me a chance to prove it." Serafina showed the most genuine smile she had that evening. "I'll think about it." Since the incident, Donovan had changed completely from his former confident self. He was thoroughly dejected. Forget about work. He hardly even left the house and spent his days either drinking or frantically searching for Serafina. But days passed, and he still hadn't found any news about her, until he accidentally saw an advertisement for a hot pot restaurant. After Serafina left, the housekeeper couldn't bear his increasingly erratic moods and soon resigned. She and her son were now running the hot pot restaurant, which reportedly was doing quite well. Looking at the ad, Donovan suddenly realized the oddness he had overlooked before. Besides Melina, the person Serafina was most familiar and trusted was the housekeeper. Now thinking about it, how could she not know where Serafina was? They must be working together to deceive him. Driven by fury, Donovan waited outside the hot pot restaurant for a long time. Once the shift ended, he forced the housekeeper, with his bodyguards, to come before him. The housekeeper turned pale at the sight of him, obviously guessing why he came. Donovan sneered. "Tell me, where is Serafina? She trusted you so much. There's no way she'd hide even packing up her things from you. If you tell me where she is, I won't hold it against you. I can even give you money enough to open another branch." He tried both threats and bribes but got no answer. "Mr. Donovan, I really don't know where Madam went. Though it may not be appropriate to say, she was right to leave you. She already knew your affairs long ago." Donovan had already learned about those matters, and was utterly broken. He ground his teeth. "This is a matter between Serafina and me. It's none of your business. I'll give you one last chance. If you don't tell me, I'll ask your son." After years of relying on each other, the housekeeper hesitated briefly, fearing for her son, then forced herself to recall a nearly forgotten detail. "Don't hurt my son, please. I really don't know much. Madam was very careful to protect me. I only once happened to see a receipt for a new ID processing while helping organize the study. She's now going by Anna Smith." Though not an uncommon name, Donovan spared no expense and managed to find the travel records of the Anna Smith he was looking for that very night. Within an hour he boarded a plane to Hawaii, even skipping packing his luggage to speed things up. In the following days, Donovan handled no business, contacted no one, and focused solely on tracking Anna Smith's whereabouts. When he finally caught a faint clue and followed it, he saw a scene that brought him unbearable pain. Under the clear Hawaiian sky, Anna Smith wore a simple, well-fitted linen dress and a wide-brimmed straw hat. After stepping out of a car, she turned to grab her easel from the trunk, looking relaxed and carefree. Not at all like someone heartbroken. This sight stabbed Donovan deeply. He realized she had likely moved on from their failed marriage. He hurried forward to intervene, but Adrian was much faster. While holding Serafina's easel, Adrian shielded her behind him and coldly looked at Donovan, asking, "Sir, do we know each other?" "I don't know you, but I know her. Stay away from her." Donovan's harsh words were followed by attempts to speak gently to Serafina, but she responded only with distance and indifference, not even sparing him a glance. Seeing Serafina's attitude clearly, Adrian carefully placed her easel down, then firmly pushed Donovan away. They grappled, and relying on his years of fitness training, Adrian quickly defeated Donovan with ease. Donovan's body had long been hollowed out by the alcohol he used to numb himself some time ago. He staggered and fell to the ground. Not to mention fighting back, he didn't even have the strength to get up. Seeing this, Adrian didn't bother to deliver a beating to a fallen dog. Instead, he protected his lover by his side and warned from his high ground. "Her name is Anna Smith, she's my fiancée, and we're about to get married. If you come bothering her again, I won't hesitate to call the police or make sure you never forget this lesson." After saying that, He walked away without a hint of hesitation, and Serafina didn't even look back once. With Adrian's care, she returned to the car. The two of them left immediately, leaving all the past behind with Donovan, who stayed where he had fallen. Donovan lay on the ground for a long time without moving. It wasn't until the police were alerted that, under the strange gazes of passers-by, he dragged himself onto the road of despair to head back. After returning to the home where he used to live with Serafina, he never stepped out of his room again. When his parents learned that their formerly healthy son had become a living corpse, they rushed over in hopes of taking care of him. But no matter how kindly they persuaded him, he chose to completely shut himself off, ignoring calls, refusing to meet anyone, even pulling the curtains to hide in the dark. Not long after living like this, Donovan became so emaciated he looked unrecognizable, reduced to a hollow skeleton. His parents could no longer bear it and forcibly sent him to the hospital, but it was already too late. The doctor wrote the diagnosis of severe schizophrenia on the report and gently advised, if he continues like this, sooner or later he will confuse reality with fantasy. Sending him to a psychiatric hospital as soon as possible might help stabilize him. "We'll think about it," the two elderly parents said, heartbroken beyond words. They were about to go out and try to convince Donovan once more, but just as they reached the corridor, a commotion not far away caught their attention. Passers-by were shouting in panic. Someone jumped off the building. An ominous premonition surged in their hearts. They hurried over, but only had time to see the horrifying scene after Donovan dragged Melina down with him. The sight was too gruesome to bear. Melina's husband, Victor, leaned against the wall, emotionally broken, telling the security guards what had happened. "That man is insane. I came with my wife for a prenatal checkup. I don't even know what provoked him, but he went mad. He grabbed my wife, ran to the window, and just jumped." This terrible incident quickly spread throughout Donovan and Serafina's social circles. Even Adrian, who was at the Arctic Circle preparing to watch the aurora with her, received the call. After much thought, he finally decided to tell her the truth. "I just got the news." Donovan dragged and jumped from the hospital window. Both of them died. Serafina listened silently, her expression without the slightest ripple, as if those two had never known her at all. She just gazed at the beautiful scene before her and said, "Adrian, please help me set up the easel. I want to paint tonight's aurora." Adrian looked into her eyes reflecting the northern lights and quietly replied, "All right. I'll wait for you to paint the most beautiful aurora in the world."